Paraguay is a country that often surprises visitors. Located in the heart of South America, it does not have a coastline, but it has a strong identity, a rich cultural memory, and a way of life that feels both peaceful and deeply rooted in tradition. For many people, Paraguay is still an unfamiliar place. However, for those who spend time there, it quickly becomes clear that this is a country with a distinctive voice, shaped by indigenous heritage, Spanish influence, family life, and a close relationship with everyday customs. To understand Paraguay, one must look not only at its cities and landscapes, but also at its food, its language, its music, its celebrations, and the opportunities it offers to younger generations, including Brazilians who are preparing to move there.
One of the most striking elements of Paraguayan culture is its bilingual nature. Spanish is widely used, but Guarani is also a living and essential language in daily life. Unlike in many countries where indigenous languages exist mostly in museums or school books, Guarani remains present in the streets, at home, in songs, jokes, and conversations. This bilingual reality gives Paraguay a cultural richness that is immediately visible. Many Paraguayans naturally switch between Spanish and Guarani, sometimes in the same sentence. For a foreigner, this may seem unusual at first, but it reflects a national identity that values continuity with the past while remaining fully connected to the present.
Language is only one part of this identity. Paraguayan customs also reveal a society where family, respect, and community still matter greatly. People often value close relationships, social routines, and simple pleasures. In many towns and neighborhoods, life moves at a slower and more personal pace than in large metropolitan areas such as São Paulo, Buenos Aires, or Rio de Janeiro. This does not mean that Paraguay lacks modernity. On the contrary, its cities are developing, and its economy has been changing. But the social atmosphere remains warm, practical, and centered on human contact. That is one of the reasons many Brazilians who move there are surprised by how quickly they begin to feel at home.
Food is one of the best ways to understand Paraguay. Paraguayan cuisine is simple in appearance but rich in flavor and meaning. It reflects a rural history, a strong connection to corn, cassava, cheese, and meat, and a tradition of recipes that are shared across generations. One of the most famous dishes is sopa paraguaya, a kind of savory corn cake made with cornmeal, cheese, milk, onions, eggs, and fat. The name may confuse first-time visitors, because it is not a soup at all. Another essential food is chipa, a small bread or biscuit made with cassava starch, cheese, eggs, and often anise. Chipa is sold in markets, on streets, in bakeries, and near bus stations. It is eaten throughout the day and is especially popular during holidays and family gatherings.
Other typical dishes include chipa guazu, a moist corn-based dish, vori vori, a chicken soup with small balls of cornmeal and cheese, kivive, a sweet pumpkin-based preparation, and payagua moscata, a fried cake made from cassava and meat. These foods are not just meals. They are part of the country's memory. They speak of local ingredients, of home cooking, and of a culinary culture that is practical, comforting, and deeply local. For newcomers, especially Brazilians, Paraguayan cuisine may seem modest at first, but it is often remembered for its authenticity and for the way it connects people to tradition. A plate of chipa with a cold tereré is more than a snack. It is almost a cultural ritual.
Tereré deserves special attention because it is one of the clearest symbols of Paraguayan life. It is a cold infusion of yerba mate, often prepared with water, herbs, or medicinal plants, and shared socially in a circle. While hot mate is common in other parts of the region, tereré has a special place in Paraguay. It is especially associated with warm weather, outdoor conversation, and daily companionship. People drink it during work, study, leisure, and family time. The shared cup and the act of passing it from one person to another create a sense of belonging. In Paraguay, tereré is not just a drink. It is a habit, a social language, and a sign of trust.
Music and dance also play a major role in the cultural life of the country. Paraguayan music carries traces of indigenous rhythms, Spanish heritage, and regional folk traditions. The harp is one of the most iconic instruments in Paraguayan music, and its sound is often associated with national identity. Traditional songs may express nostalgia, love, land, or daily life. Folk dances are also present in celebrations and cultural festivals, especially in public events that aim to preserve heritage. At the same time, contemporary music, pop culture, and urban entertainment are also growing, particularly in Asunción and other major centers. This mix of old and new gives the country a cultural scene that feels rooted but not frozen.
Festivals are another important window into Paraguayan life. Among the most beloved traditions is San Juan, a celebration with food, games, music, and community spirit. During June and July, many places in Paraguay organize San Juan events that bring together families, students, and local residents. These celebrations are known for their festive atmosphere and their strong connection to tradition. They often include street food, folk entertainment, and playful activities that reflect popular culture. The event is not only religious or historical, it is also social because it gives people a reason to gather, celebrate, and share the season together.
In Asunción, the capital city, the cultural calendar can be surprisingly active. The city hosts concerts, theater performances, exhibitions, workshops, and public activities throughout the year. Cultural centers, museums, municipal programs, and independent spaces offer a range of events that appeal to different audiences. There are also heritage-related activities, such as museum nights and public programs designed to bring people closer to the history of the city and the country. For visitors and residents alike, Asunción is the main gateway to Paraguayan cultural life. It is where much of the artistic energy is concentrated, although other towns and regions also preserve important traditions. Sightseeing in Paraguay is often more about atmosphere than spectacle. The country does not rely only on famous global landmarks. Instead, it offers a more intimate experience. Historic centers, museums, old churches, riverside views, local markets, and quiet neighborhoods where everyday life becomes part of the attraction. Asunción has a historic downtown area that reflects layers of colonial, republican, and modern history. Visitors may explore museums that focus on national memory, art, heritage, or political history. Outside the capital, there are also important destinations connected to Jesuit missions, regional traditions, and natural landscapes. For travelers who enjoy cultural depth rather than mass tourism, Paraguay can be deeply rewarding.
The art scene in Paraguay is varied and often underestimated. Visual arts, crafts, literature, music, and performance all contribute to a broader cultural landscape. Indigenous influence can be seen in forms of design, textile traditions, and handmade objects. Local artists often work with themes of identity, memory, land, and social change. In Asunción, galleries, cultural associations, and public institutions sometimes host exhibitions and artistic events that connect older traditions with new voices. There are also spaces dedicated to film, independent theater, and music presentations. While the scale of the art market may be smaller than in larger Latin American countries, this can also make the scene feel more personal and accessible.
Universities are another important part of the country's social and intellectual life. Asunción is home to several higher education institutions, including the Universidad Nacional de Asunción, and a number of private universities. These institutions attract students from various backgrounds and play a central role in professional development. For young people, university life in Paraguay can be a bridge to future employment, social networks, and cultural integration. Academic opportunities are especially important for families moving from Brazil, because education often becomes a key reason for relocation. In this context, knowing the educational landscape is essential. Some students seek degrees in medicine, law, engineering, business, education, or language-related fields. Others look for shorter programs, technical training, or professional certification.
For young Brazilians moving to Paraguay soon, adaptation will depend on preparation. One of the most helpful steps is language learning. Spanish is essential, and even basic conversational fluency can make everyday life much easier. In some settings, Guarani expressions may also appear, especially in informal interaction. Brazilians who show interest in both languages often adapt more quickly and gain respect
from local communities. Another important factor is documentation. Residency procedures, identification, and legal requirements should be organized before the move. Paraguay offers residency pathways that can be simpler for Mercosur citizens, which is one reason Brazilians often choose the country. Still, planning is important, especially if the move is connected to work or study.
The job market in Paraguay has its own characteristics. It is smaller than Brazil's, but it can offer opportunities in areas such as commerce, customer service, education, language instruction, administration, sales, technology, and services linked to international business. Young Brazilians may find openings in schools, language centers, call centers, stores, offices, logistics, and companies that operate across borders. Because Brazil and Paraguay share regional ties, some employers value workers who can communicate across cultures and handle bilingual environments. This is especially useful for young people with English, Spanish, or Portuguese skills. In some cases, having experience in teaching, digital communication, support services, or administrative tasks can open additional doors.
At the same time, it is important to be realistic. The Paraguayan labor market may not always offer the same volume of formal jobs as larger countries, and salaries can vary significantly by sector. That is why research is essential before relocating. Young Brazilians should think carefully about housing, transport, healthcare, taxes, and daily costs. A move that looks simple on paper may become stressful without financial planning. It is also wise to understand the local business culture. Work relationships can be professional but personal, and punctuality, respect, and reliability matter. For foreigners who bring flexibility and patience, there can be meaningful opportunities to build a stable life.
Cultural adaptation is also important outside work. People who move to Paraguay often learn quickly that social life is shaped by neighborhood routines, family ties, and everyday habits. Joining local events, understanding local food, and respecting traditions can make integration smoother. Young Brazilians may find comfort in the country's regional proximity, but they should not assume that the cultural environment is identical to Brazil. Paraguay has its own rhythm. Its history, language, and social codes deserve attention. The more a newcomer observes and participates, the easier it becomes to connect with others.
Another point worth mentioning is the balance between tradition and change. Paraguay is not isolated from the modern world. Cities are developing, digital tools are increasingly present, and younger generations are more connected than ever. Yet the country still maintains strong cultural anchors. Religious celebrations, folk food, family meetings, bilingual life, and public festivals continue to matter. This balance gives Paraguay a distinctive character. It is a country where modern work and old customs often coexist, sometimes in the same day, sometimes in the same household.
For Brazilians especially, Paraguay can represent both a challenge and an opportunity. It may be a place to study, to begin a professional path, to seek affordability, or to experience a different social environment while remaining close to home. The move may involve adjustment, but it can also offer growth. Young people who arrive with curiosity, language skills, and practical planning are more likely to benefit from what the country offers. Whether they are attending university, teaching, working in services, or exploring cultural life, they will encounter a society that values closeness, continuity, and identity.
In the end, Paraguay is best understood not by speed but by attention. Its culture lives in the small things. In a shared terroir, in a chipa sold at a corner shop, in a Guarani phrase spoken at, in a San Juan celebration in the middle of winter, in a concert in Asunción, in a university classroom, or in a quiet conversation about family and future. For visitors and new residents alike, these details build a picture of a country that is modest in scale but rich in meaning. For young Brazilians preparing to make Paraguay their new home, that picture can become the beginning of a new chapter, one shaped by learning, adaptation, and discovery.